Hey guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week we're finishing up all the small things on the Gen 3 Hemi Gremmie and getting it ready to take it to Mopar Fest. Hit it, Dad.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada, eh? Alrighty guys, we already heard what we're trying to accomplish in today's video, but if you're new to the channel, this is my sister's 73 AMC Gremlin X that we jammed a Gen 3 Hemi into it. I think we're calling it the Gen 3 Hemi Gremmie. Check out the playlist of all the work we've done so far on this car. I'll leave it on the screen here somewhere. But in today's video, I think we're just trying to knock a whole bunch of things off of the to-do list. Basically to get this thing one step closer to actually running. So you can see that it's off the hoist now, so that's a really big step. Basically everything underneath the car is all finished up, or just there's a few odds and ends that I still need to do, but basically she's getting there. We're getting really close to getting this thing all figured out. Basically what we have in today's video to figure out, and then hopefully wiring. But we're actually trying to get this car to an event called Mopar Fest, so hopefully this video comes out before that. It's happening this August 16th and 17th. Check out their website. I'll leave a link down in the description if you guys are curious about checking this thing out in person. But I need to get cracking, so I think we're just going to start with the biggest thing first, which is, I think, the cooling system. So we got a box on the ground here from Cold Case. Not sponsored or anything, but it just seemed like the best option to go with. So I think I'm going to get this thing unpacked, see how it's going to fit in the car, and get you guys more situated once we figure out what's in this box. So here we go. Alrighty guys, we got everything out of that humongous box. There was a couple other boxes. I opted out for buying the kit with the fan shroud and their fans. I don't have any kind of controller. Our Holley Terminator X is going to actually control the fans, so we're just going to do a whole kind of like relay setup with this. But Cold Case actually doesn't sell a radiator for a Gremlin, but it just so happens that one from a Javelin is the exact same size. Just the mounting tab is actually on the wrong side. So me and Dad just went ahead and just added another piece of aluminum to the edge of this, figured out where the holes had to go so that we could actually bolt this in the car. So we just went ahead and did all that. You can see that we have our old rad here. You can see how junky this thing just looks and how nice that Cold Case one looks compared to that old one. So we're going to see if this thing fits. We'll get you turned around here so you guys can see it in the car, and then we'll see about trying to figure out some hoses. Alrighty, Dad, you ready? Yep. Okay. Where can I grab? Come on.
Well, the other hole's
perfect. So you guys can see that we got the whole Cold Case radiator set up, all bolted into the Gremlin. It's looking absolutely wicked. It's a tight one, but it's in there. And we also got our upper and lower radiator hose on as well. And while we were at it, we actually just figured out the whole power steering setup. So we just ended up using an old reservoir that we had from a past project. So it actually came from the TJ Jeep. So it's got the nice cool Chrysler logo on it. And we got all the lines for that all figured out. Just for the pressure one, I ended up using just a 3/8 GIC hydraulic line. Just had that crimped up at a local shop, and I just got some AN fitting adapters to go into the steering box and into the pump to make that all work. So now what we got to do to actually finish this whole thing off for the cooling system and for the lines that actually go into the rad. First off, for the cooling system, it's just the heater core lines that are on the back of the motor. So the Gen 3 Hemi actually runs the those lines kind of underneath the intake and out the back. So I've already put a set of these really sharp 95/8 fittings onto the back of the intake there, just where the lines come out. But on the actual heater core in the firewall as well, is I want to do another set of these really sharp 90 fittings, but I need to adapt one up to 3/4 just because old stuff they used to run a 5/8 and a 3/4. On the Gen 3 Hemi, it's both 5/8 lines. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually just going to cut a portion of this barbed stainless fitting off. It fits perfect right over top of that 90, so I'm going to TIG weld, oh that's long gone, but we're going to TIG weld that onto here, and then what we're going to do, I need to figure out the rest of the tranny cooler lines that actually go into the rad. So I'm going to try to get a shot. I actually already kind of did some kind of bulkhead setup that's on the motor. So there's a set of lines that go from the tranny up to the bulkheads, and then we're going to run a short set of lines from the bulkheads actually up to the rad. So the fittings that they run in the rad is kind of like a brake fitting that fits onto a 1/4 inch brake line. So I was able to find a hydraulic fitting. This is an ORB fitting. They call it a 1/2 inch. I think it was, but it has an O-ring on it, so I don't know if you guys can see that. And then I just bought another one just like that, but the bottom size thread on this is 9/16, so it doesn't fit into the rad. So while I'm at it TIG welding that other piece that I lost on the ground there, I'm going to cut this off. We're going to weld the proper piece onto the back side. This is just a plug, so I'm going to drill it through after we get it welded up. And then hopefully these will be the proper fittings so that I can run -6 line from the rad to my bulkhead fitting. So we're going to set you guys up. I'm going to get these all kind of made up and TIG welded and hopefully find that other piece that I lost, and then we'll have the whole line set up all figured out on the Hemi Gremmie. So you guys just seen all the beauty shots of these fittings all finished up. We got these hoses on the back here. It's looking pretty slick. I like how tight it actually goes to the firewall. I think it'd be kind of goofy if they kind of went out and kind of wrapped around. If anybody has any links on a nicer looking hose clamp, definitely, you know, shoot me a message. I'd like to try to find something a little bit more sleek for here. Obviously for now this is going to work perfectly fine. Just with all the kind of joints here, I'm not liking it that much. In the back you don't notice it just because it's kind of hidden behind the intake, but kind of that one there. And the other one's a little hard to see underneath, but you guys already seen the beauty shot of those fittings all done up with our lines going over to our bulkhead fitting kind of on this side. I don't know if you guys might be able to see that from here. It's pretty hard to see, but just right here, obviously that bulkhead fitting is down there where that lines a join for the tranny cooler lines. But we're coming almost to the end here on all the stuff that we got to kind of make up. The last major thing is we've got to figure out our throttle cable and our kickdown cable. So I think I'm going to start kind of brainstorming a bracket that I can make up here that's going to work to hold both of these cables. We are going to have to shorten the throttle cable one. I already got this one kind of in place and hooked on to the pedal down there in the car. So yeah, I'm just going to try to mess around with this, see where it works out the best, and then we'll come back to once I got a game plan. So we went from cardboard template to actual bracket. I probably got at least 3 hours just in designing this little piece, and you guys know that all the little things take the most amount of time. So it was actually pretty tricky trying to figure this out because all of these are electronic throttle bodies, and obviously with us putting this LS one on there, and I wanted to go with the mechanical one just because I prefer that, we had to figure out just some kind of bracket to hold these cables on there. So I went under this front kind of head bolt here, and then I just went underneath the one front bolt for the intake that actually holds it down. I made it kind of like an angle iron, so there's actually a plate that goes behind there to stiffen all this up. So it's pretty stiff. Got our cables on there. We're going to run it through its cycle so you guys can see how it works. And I'm pretty sure if you see it, that thing goes right horizontal, so we're getting wide open throttle and that thing's mashed to the ground. I think if you do that, it's going to be pretty gnarly in this car, but hey, hopefully one day we're going to find out here. So I think that was the last major thing that we had to kind of design and build for this car, other than maybe a bracket for the computer. But we're going to put the icing on the cake now. And we're going to put the intake tube on. So I've got this funky filter. They're calling it carbon fiber, but I thought it more looked like checkerboard. I thought it looked pretty sweet. So we'll get this on there, and then it's going to start to look like something. Look at that. We might have to make just a little bracket to hold that up on that end, but that's looking pretty wicked. So I think, guys, we're going to move on to wiring, start figuring out that Holley Terminator harness, and, you know, just get this thing even closer to firing up. So I'm going to lay out some wiring stuff and we're going to get after it. It's a tricky one, but we're getting it in there. Well, guys, you just saw all the beauty shots of the wiring, what was in the car and kind of in the engine bay. I know it's pretty tucked away and hard to see, but that's, you know, what we were going for, just trying to hide it all, make it look nice and neat. I know we didn't get too much into detail on wiring, but, you know, wiring's a pretty big task, and it's kind of just like, you know, I just want to kind of get it over and done with, trying to make it look as neat as possible. But we did... we have our fans triggered off the Holley, so I am going to have to put that into the handheld. But now that we have all the wiring all figured out and situated, I think what we're going to do is we're going to actually move this onto the hoist. We have a couple things just to plug in underneath for, I think it's a crank sensor and a couple knock sensors. We got to hook up the starter and the main starter lead that actually comes from the battery. So it's just going to make it a whole lot easier on the hoist. And I think we're going to then leak check it on the hoist as well, just to make sure that, you know, none of the gas fittings are leaking. And then if this thing's actually going to crack off, hopefully we can check our tranny cooler lines. We're going to put all the fluids into this thing. So we're going to get this thing moved, and then, yeah, we'll meet you over at the hoist. Alrighty, guys, we can finally see that we've got the Gremlin on the hoist. Me and Dad, we did a leak check. We checked all the fittings on the fuel system and on the tranny lines. Everything's looking really good. We've actually spent probably a couple days trying to figure this thing out. You know, obviously we're new to Gen 3 Hemis and also the Terminator X harness, and you know, we're both learning, and I didn't want to put something out there that I didn't understand. So we've had this thing running a couple times actually at this point, and you know, we just couldn't get it right. Basically what was happening is our coolant temp sensor was showing so hot that it was like, man, it looks like this motor's burning up, like we got a major issue, when it was actually something pretty simple, and it was actually just changing a setting on the tune itself. So I wasn't able to change it on the handheld. I actually had to go on my laptop, and tune it offline just by putting the SD card in there, changing some settings, and we got everything pretty well figured out here. So we're going to fire this thing up for the first time for you guys so you can hear it. We're going to camera out back so we'll be able to hear the exhaust, how it's going to sound out back. And we're going to bring the Gen 3 Hemi Gremmie to life. So I'm going to fire it up. Ready, Dad?
Yep.
What's the fuel pressure saying for you?
It was
45?
45, yeah.
Right now? Okay. You ready?
Yep.
It's amazing how quiet this car is when it's actually running up front here. I think it still needs to learn a bunch. We're going to have to take it out and drive it. We do know that the transmission does go forward and back, so that's pretty cool. The fans all working that. You know, it's just absolutely wicked. We'll bring you guys in just a little bit closer so you can see it. So it's still, the injectors have a pretty loud sound. It's kind of, you know, it's deceiving and stuff like that, but we're gonna rev it up for you here. We'll put the shot out back so you guys can hear it. It sounds absolutely bananas, dude. Absolutely friggin' wicked. Well, there we have it, guys. Everything's running absolutely perfect on the Gen 3 Hemi Gremmie. We still have a lot of testing to do, but I can confidently say that we're going to make it to Mopar Fest. So that's absolutely wicked. We still have a bunch of things that we need to kind of tidy up on the car, but maybe that might make it in the next video once we actually finish this off and maybe hand the keys over to my sister. Yeah, I think that's going to do for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully you guys can come check it out at Mopar Fest. We're going to be there hopefully all weekend, and we're going to have a blast. So thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to salute the beaver. We'll catch you next time.